evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the premiere of East Belfast, Our Story 2020. In case you haven't guessed already, we're broadcasting from East Belfast's very own Strand Arts Centre and Cinema, and what a venue it is. Opened in 1937, it has survived the Blitz and the Troubles, and here it is, still standing as a beacon of resilience and innovation. In keeping with current restrictions, obviously we're broadcasting from an empty cinema, but we're delighted that you're able to join us virtually via the wonders of technology. A special thanks to our media partner, Belfast Live, who are streaming this live on Facebook to enable us to be with you now, wherever you are in the world. Let's face it, we're all used to doing things virtually now, and as much as it gets a bad rap at times, it's been a virtue to us all over the last year, connecting work, family and friends at a time when we missed and needed connection the most. I'm delighted to say we've been joined by East Belfast families all the way from Victoria, Australia, and from LA itself. If we can't be in Hollywood, at least we can be on the Hollywood Road. Now, normally by this stage of the year, we would have already held the annual Eastside Awards ceremony, but as we all know, 2020 was a year like no other. The pandemic has had an impact on every section of our community, and the Awards Committee felt it was even more important and appropriate than ever to recognise the contributions made by so many people in so many ways across the community. Early on, the committee recognised it was not going to be possible to run the awards process or have our glamorous gala award ceremony as in previous years. But with true East Belfast innovation, it was decided to capture as many of these contributions as possible. As one committee member remarked, a global pandemic isn't going to stop us from showcasing some of the many extraordinary and powerful stories from across our community, which only go to prove that the people of East Belfast were not found wanting during the crisis. And so here we are at the premiere of East Belfast, Our Story 2020. Tonight has been made entirely possible by the support of this year's champions, who you can see on the screen now. Despite everything this year, these champions all came together as they wanted to highlight why East Belfast really is a great place to live, work and play, even and especially during the toughest of times. Their support of this initiative in this community is why we're able to be here tonight. A special mention to George Best Belfast City Airport, who are our principal sponsor again this year and who have been with us from the very beginning, supporting us to achieve what we set out in doing, showcasing why East Belfast is so special. I'm delighted to say that we have Patton with us this evening, who you'll hear from later on. As you watch this film, you'll discover that this year, more than any other, the community of East Belfast came together in a way that really is something to be proud of. And that is what tonight is all about. More on that when we speak to Jonathan McAlpin, Chair of the Eastside Awards Committee, a little later on. So let's get things moving. I'll be your host for this evening and hope that you've made yourself comfortable and grabbed a cuppa, some popcorn, or maybe something a little stronger if you wish, as I know you're in for a real treat. And while we can't get together in a physical capacity just quite yet, we can all get together virtually via the power of social media. We want to get as much activity as we can on social media tonight, so please follow us using the handles on screen now and use the hashtag #EastBelfastStory2020 to let us know you're with us and watching this evening. And if you spot someone you know in the film, let them know by tagging them in the comments. So before we continue with proceedings this evening, I'm delighted to be able to hand over to some very special guests who wanted to say a few words and express thanks to everyone involved in the East Belfast Our Story 2020 premiere.
Good evening. I'm delighted to be part of this alternative Eastside Awards event. Looking back over the past year, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on our lives. It has changed so many things, not least the way services are delivered to those in the community. And yet, in enduring the worst, there are so many stories of inspiration. Here in East Belfast, people on the ground, families, neighbours, community groups and many businesses have joined forces to tackle the impact of this pandemic. There is a real eagerness to help one another through the adversity. In the Executive, we are pleased to be part of that effort through the Urban Villages programme. We have been so impressed at the speed in which organisations and individuals have acted collaboratively with care and compassion to make a positive difference. The community of East Belfast stood together to overcome the challenges of COVID-19. I hope you enjoy these stories of real life. The people in this film offer encouragement to us all as we look forward to better days ahead. Thank you.
Hello everyone watching this live stream event tonight, and I'm really delighted to be part of what is a fantastic celebration. The three themes for tonight, spirit, innovation and hope, are encompassed in the film that you're about to see. Those themes are so important as we reflect on the many challenges people have faced this past year. Tonight you're going to see a wonderful community spirit shining through in the darkest of times. The story of East Belfast 2020, a film that shows how churches, community groups, public bodies and businesses have been working together during the pandemic to provide help and support to people in need during the toughest of times. The community spirit shown over this past year has been phenomenal, and the motivation and the energy with which people and groups have responded to overcome the challenges thrown up by the pandemic, and their commitment to help build and to help and support people who are isolated, vulnerable, has been just really incredible. In this film, you will see great examples of innovation and dedication and get a real sense of that hope that's created whenever a community rallies around to support those most in need. You have helped so many people along the way, and I want to say a huge thank you and a huge well done. Enjoy your evening.
And our thanks to the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister. So enough from me. I'm sure you want to see what you all came for this evening. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce the first chapter of East Belfast Our Story 2020 and its spirit.
The original concept, should I say, for the Eastside Awards was about how can we encourage people in East Belfast to really stop being so humble and actually celebrate a little bit about how good they are and what they do to make this such a good place. We wanted to shine a spotlight on all those people and those organisations that really contribute to East Belfast and make it such a good place to live, to work, to play. But this year when the pandemic hit, we were thinking, look, awards is not the time. We're not about celebrating one individual's efforts over another or one organisation's endeavours over another. We've got to look at this more broadly, and the pandemic also said that you're not going to have 350 people in black tie enjoying a great night out and celebrating the endeavours of everybody. So we thought again, what we want to do is to keep honest to what the awards spirit is all about and the purpose, and that is about recognising endeavour. And how better to recognise endeavour than to shine a spotlight on all of the amazing activities that people got engaged in through the pandemic. And how could we do that? Well, the only way we could really do that and give it justice was through a type of documentary film like we're showing now, to really hopefully capture once and for all what life was like through the pandemic in 2020 and how East Belfast responded.
Good evening. The struggle against COVID is the single biggest crisis the world has faced in my lifetime.
I'm immensely proud of Northern Ireland. We are resilient and we are kind. And when our NHS staff needed encouragement, we all stepped up. Northern Ireland has been through a great deal down through the decades. We have risen to the challenge many times before. Together, we must drive down the virus so that Northern Ireland can get back to its best and the place that we all want it to be.
And let me begin this evening by expressing my heartfelt sympathy to all those who have lost loved ones over this very difficult period.
We faced the changes down with spirit. Nothing ever stopped us from rolling out our pancakes and food parcels. Like a ray of sun blessing East Belfast. We joined up, clubbed together, slow cooked up a storm complete with demonstrations for new learners and high tea for our elders, church leaders. 100th birthday special treats. We swam in the sea, and raising funds we kept moving. We did not lie under the weight of separation. We weren't locked down. We were storytellers, patchwork quilters, piecing communities together. Our spirit takes over when we are forced to deal with COVID, but don't shy away from the challenges. We make changes.
Hello, it's Marcus Kane here. How are you, Eddie?
Oh, that's too bad, Margaret. How about you?
I'm dead on, mate. Look, I was just giving you a wee call to check up and see how you've been.
I'm alright, Margaret. Thanks very much, mate. I get the streaming on the TV here. What's the matches?
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. That was a good result on Saturday, wasn't it?
Oh, you had a brilliant match on that wing, mate. Brilliant.
Thanks, mate.
Brilliant
Thanks.
going forward.
Thanks. What about going back? Not so good going back?
That wee phone call means a million, lad.
Alright, no worries, mate.
The best of luck to you, so.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Thanks.
Alright,
All the best, mate.
Margaret.
All the best.
Nice
Bye.
talk. Bye.
March 2020, something hit us that none of us had ever experienced before. And initially it was hard. It was hard on everybody. As far as the football club was concerned, we were trying to do what was best for obviously the players, but also we had a very, very large fan base to consider as well. So toward the end of March, the chairman of the club, Stephen Henderson, contacted me. I'm the holder of the season ticket database, and put a proposal to me that Glentoran Football Club is first and foremost a family club, and the term we need to look after our own. So his proposition was, Ruth, could you come up with a list of the over 75s who are season ticket holders or who have been involved in some way or other in the club throughout the years. I made the list. Turned out there was well over 100, and that list then became, I named it my golden oldies. And I thought initially, this will take a week. 6 weeks, 5 nights a week and Sunday afternoons it took me to get through the list, because it wasn't a matter of just going, hello, how are you? Everything going okay? The conversations could have lasted an hour or more. And hearing stories from people who probably I look at as nearly being the age of my grandparents, really. People that I knew coming in and out of the Oval on a regular basis, but then I got to see the other side of them. Some of them have families around them, some of them are on their own. But it was just letting them know that as a football club, we were here to support them if they ever needed anything.
It was about a year ago that COVID first hit, and it caused a lot of confusion and fear. People didn't know where it was going, what was happening. Some community groups sprang into action and began to deliver groceries locally and set up telephone helplines. However, some of us thought that it needed a more coordinated approach that would be resourced on a wider East Belfast basis. We actually met in this very hall on the 23rd of March. About 20 of us, ministers, politicians, but mainly local community people, to see what we could do. Probably the major decision we took that day was to set up a helpline. A helpline that would cover all of East Belfast and all groups. Everybody was involved, from the Short Strand to Ballybean, from Sydenham right round to Ravenhill Road, Craiga, Tully, Cornet, Woodstock, all areas in between were covered. And the idea was to make sure nobody fell through the cracks. Not everybody was attached to a community group or a church. There are many people out there who had no connections. So we decided to distribute 40,000 leaflets to every house in East Belfast with details of the helpline. And immediately the helpline became very busy. We had hundreds of calls. Mainly at that time was for picking up medicines, delivering food. But it became clear as the time went on that we needed resourced, and that's where the council and the Department for Communities then stepped in.
Belfast City Council were very quick to respond, and they made funding available throughout Belfast to a number of organisations, including ourselves, and we were able to buy food. So we had a sort of a network established that we could supply food to groups in East Belfast, and they then made up food parcels that could be distributed around the community. We also established a WhatsApp group so we could have quick communication with people, and we established what we refer to as a live Google spreadsheet.
I work in the Bloomfield area, and 4 groups within the area came together. So we were the responders when the phone lines were rang and people needed help. Continually there was people who were phoning that phone, elderly people who didn't have anybody, and we established connections with them. And you know, I think that it made them feel safe through this lockdown, when the world, it was like a wallpaper of sound of death and what was going to happen. So I think the response gave people hope.
We knew there was some services that we do that we had to keep open. The homeless hostel, counselling service available to folks, employability service, we kept it going. We wanted to keep our foot still in the community, so we joined the COVID support team, and that was a real blessing for Newton Ards Road. It was manic, but you know what, it was lovely to be here and to be a place that people turn to, and therefore we tried to respond to it as best we could.
The real strength of this was seeing the people in East Belfast come together. We'd always had a good community structure, but this provided us an opportunity to work together to show East Belfast at its best in a terrible situation as we all face the unknown.
This has been an opportunity for the Orange Order to reimagine the 12th. So this year they've brought the parade back to the people in their own area.
Half the orange and half the white.
The idea originated whenever the Orange Order had said about there wouldn't be any 12th celebrations, and we came up with this idea to encourage our local members of the Orange Order and residents of the area to celebrate whilst having their tea at home.
Thank you.
In previous years, the Orange Order has reminded supporters that it's about the battle, not the bottle. This year they say it is about the battle with the bug. That bug, COVID-19.
So there are no woods, and yes, this is East Belfast, but you are sure of a big surprise.
First of all, hearing the thought about having to be locked down was quite startling. You know, the first thing I did when they talked about it as a possibility, I went and got a haircut because I knew this could last a while. I've got 3 children and I've got 4 grandchildren. They had sort of said, would you put out some bears? You've got plenty of bears. So that's where it started really. But I said, right, one day we'll put out the table with 4 bears around it. As simple as that, a teddy bear's picnic in the front garden. It was a one-day thing at that stage in our minds. But somehow with people walking by, the kids saw it, and the kids were absolutely mesmerised with this. And it just grew and grew and grew. And a number of people kept saying, what about charity? What about putting a box out for charity? Well, we'd thought about that, but what we didn't want to do was stop the kids coming around and feeling the parents have to put something in the box all the time. So we sort of didn't do anything. And then one day we come out and someone had placed an envelope on a bear, on top of a bear, with money in it. So at that stage we said, right, we need to do something. Put out the laundry bucket, or laundry basket, should I say, and people put a donation into the laundry basket. 2 days later, Marie Curie came up, only at the bottom of the street, and they gave us a Marie Curie bucket for collection. But we actually had the bears on display for 71 days. And at the end of the day, we raised £10,620, and it all went to Marie Curie at the bottom of the park. It was a win for the people walking by and the kids. It was a win for us because it kept us engaged in the whole thing, and it was a win for Marie Curie. It kept us occupied during the whole time.
Allied Bakeries have been making bread in East Belfast since 1972, and we've a lot of long-serving employees. Some have been here as long as 40 years, and a lot of them live in the east of the city as well. So these are our friends, neighbours, colleagues, and it was just great. You know, it was very rewarding to be able to reach out and help. In the first lockdown, we received lots of calls from various community groups, and as part of a company-wide across the UK initiative, we've donated approximately 14,000 loaves since the beginning of the pandemic, and as UK-wide, we've donated the equivalent of 2.1 million meals across the whole of the UK.
We spoke to some local politicians and came up with a cross-community response that we put in place an emergency response telephone number. So that was for vulnerable elderly residents living close by or living across Northern Ireland really. So I think some numbers, you're talking like 1,500 boojums we delivered, over 500 Easter eggs around Easter time. I think it was 4,000 fresh bowls of soup and fresh fruit and vegetables dropped down. Stevie around Christmas time felt that we should do a sort of drive for mental health. It was a Power Charity Splash, so Stevie got a few friends involved. We went down to Crawfordsburn and got in 10-15 minute swim just to raise awareness of mental health. It was nice to sort of see people coming together for the greater good, I guess. We initially, I think, only wanted to raise about £10,000. We surpassed that fairly quickly, and I think the second target was 15, then went to 20, and we ended up raising 22,000 for 2 local charities. which was a massive accomplishment for everyone in the business. Yeah, it was nice to sort of give something back.
Wow, I don't know about you, but that has made me feel really proud of East Belfast and its community. I think the opening lines of that chapter really resonate with me. We are resilient, we are kind. This year has been so hard on so many people, but in the face of adversity, the kindness of people has really shone through. The breadth of activity right across the community to ensure that the elderly and the vulnerable didn't go without is so apparent, from the phone calls to check to see if people were okay when they were lonely, to the many food parcels and deliveries right across the community, to raising money for local charities at a time when normal fundraising was not permitted. This is just a snapshot of some of the amazing activity that has been going on right across East Belfast over the past year and beyond. And for that, we want to say thank you for all the part you have played in bringing the community together at a time when it was needed most. So before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the man himself, the person behind the Eastside Awards, Jonathan McAlpin, to say a few words about the origins of East Belfast, Our Story 2020, about the people who have brought it to life, and to introduce the next chapter of the film.
Many thanks, Tara, and good evening, everyone. For us on the Eastside Awards Organising Committee, 2020 started out like any other year. The excitement and anticipation was building ahead of the Eastside Awards Gala Dinner Night on Friday 24th January, and what a night it was. One that will live long in the memory for those that were fortunate enough to have been there, but we couldn't have foreseen what was to come. Barely a month later, on the 27th of February, the first case of COVID was confirmed in Northern Ireland. A month later, on the 28th of March, we were in lockdown. Lockdown, COVID, social distancing. Words and phrases that would have meant nothing to us on that awards night in January, but are now all too familiar. The shock caused by the pandemic hit us all hard, and on the Eastside Awards Organising Committee, we soon realised that the chance to celebrate the endeavours of those that make life special in East Belfast through a gala dinner and a gala event in 2021 was not going to be possible. So yet again, in this year, more than in any other, the awards and the spirit of the awards we felt was more relevant than ever. The awards are all about recognising those that bring life and hope to this part of the city, about celebrating their courage, their endeavours, their innovation, and we believed that we needed to show how East Belfast had drawn from these to face up to the pandemic, and hence the idea for East Belfast, Our Story 2020 was born. Like any worthwhile project, it took a collective effort to bring this film to you, and I need to thank some of those who've made this happen. Firstly, our champions. These champions have supported us not only this year, but in previous years of commitment in sponsoring the Eastside Awards. They are the champions of East Belfast and have really championed the people, the businesses, the clubs and the community organisations that continue to work so hard to make life what it is in East Belfast. To all of our champions, I want to say thank you. To Belfast City Council, Belfast Harbour, our media partner Belfast Live, East Belfast Enterprise, East Belfast Mission, Eastside Partnership, Fleet Financial, Kainos, Miller McCall Wiley, the Open University, Phoenix Natural Gas, Solve Group, the Urban Village Initiative, We're Sure Insurance Services, Wolseley Plumbing and Parts, and our principal sponsor from the inception of the Eastside Awards, the George Best Belfast City Airport. As with the awards in every year, there's considerable work goes on behind the scenes, and this has been the same in this year. The number of people that have come together to make this film that you're viewing the project that it is, and I would like to extend my thanks to the organising committee. Stephen Kane, Managing Director of the Solve Group, Graham Lowry, Mimi Turtle, Chief Executive of Strand Arts Centre, and Davy Frew, Area Manager with Wolseley, Northern Ireland. My thanks also to our PR partner, Nicola Bothwell Communications, Jim Core Photography and Revolution Audiovisual. Podium has been our event partner every year of the awards, and once again this year they've been exceptional, with a special mention for Jess Higginson, who has kept us sane throughout the creative process. Our film producer director, Marty Stalker, from Scattered Images, has shown his professionalism and expertise in producing the film, which, As has already been mentioned, we're fortunate enough to be able to broadcast from East Belfast's very own iconic Strand Cinema. My final words of thanks are to the board of East Belfast Enterprise for believing in me and giving me their support for this venture. To tonight's host, Tara Mills, who has been a supporter of our awards from the inception, and finally, and most importantly, the people of East Belfast who have made this film. It is about you, and we thank you for all that you do for where I have the privilege of calling home. We've seen how the spirit of East Belfast was alive and kicking throughout this pandemic. Now, sit back and watch some of the stories of how we faced and conquered the many challenges we faced in 2020 through innovation.
That isn't all we make. Football came off the pitch and on the screens. So children didn't lose their skills, because we will play again, and we'll play well. Meet again at open cinemas as Eastside arts become outdoor arts. Gather at a distance to find out how we can reach each other. We have the strength and character to adapt our service, roll with the waves, hit hard, be brave. Family businesses, bringing furniture from our gardens to neighbours who really need them. Dreamers and doers from the outside in. We were only ever a phone call away, making sure everyone knows what's going on, so that no one lost hope.
Hello all kids from Danny Allen Soccer School from Ireland. We have a challenge for you to try when you are at home, and that is to try the trick that's called crossover. It looks like this. So nice. Good luck and send in submissions.
Practice hard and you will be able to do it as well. Good luck.
For the first 4 to 6 weeks of the lockdown, I set the children at the soccer school daily football skills and fitness challenges to keep them interested and keep them active. Also, to spice things up, I managed to get a number of sporting celebrities to create videos for the children. I also had a retired BBC journalist, Northern Ireland sports commentator, Jackie Fullerton. He set the children the challenge of completing a George Best move. I managed to link up with my connection of friends, football coaches in the south of Ireland, as well as Canada and USA. Over 300 children posted a weekly video, and they were able to watch themselves back on my Facebook website, Danny Allen Soccer School. It was rewarding to see so many children represent their local club, showcasing their skills in their back garden or on their streets. It was also great to see them kitted out in their club colours, representing their team.
Initially we thought, this is it, the whole business is gone, but we sat down, figured out what we're going to do, and we realised now is the time to start into the EPOS, get it underway and look at a delivery service. Then after that, then we sort of started to do on the online, and a few of the staff straight in, everything that we had from seeds right through to compost, the whole lot, got as much as possible online, and at that height of it we were actually putting out about 250 orders a day. We ended up with our local joiners, builders, window cleaners, you name it, come and knock on the door, can they get work? And we had about 15 vans in the go for that period of time, and it saved our bacon, it saved our staff and saved the business.
So before lockdown, we used to do this disco for older people called the Slip Disco, and we would do it in the Black Box in Belfast. And it's just an ordinary good old disco where everybody gets together, they dance for a couple of hours to disco music and music from the 60s. And obviously during the pandemic, we're not able to meet together in rooms. So we decided to have a go at turning it into a virtual slip disco. So we run the event from the Black Box live with a very small number of people. We've got our two DJs, DJ Groover and DJ Rhythm Bandit, who play the music. We have a presenter and actor called Maggie Cronin. and then the audience watch this live on Zoom. And we have different tracks where at different times people do dance routines. So throughout the pandemic, people have written poems, they've written stories, they've danced, we've played games together, and we've tried to come together as much as possible. And a lot of the activities that have developed, we're definitely going to keep going once things get back to a bit more like normal.
We initially closed our social enterprises in line with government advice. So our first thing was, how are we going to support people? So we set up a lot of online activity and online platforms for our service users. We started using Uber Eats and Just Eats for delivery service. We put in a huge takeaway hatch thanks to funding from Belfast City Council, which has been great actually, and it's encouraged people to pop along and order takeaway from us. So yeah, I think like lots of organisations, we've just tried to be innovative and creative in how we support people and how we keep our businesses running as well.
Actually for me, one of the hardest things was not being able to go to play Gaelic with the team. It became a really big part of my life really quickly, and because we were training twice a week, then we had matches on the weekends and we had some social activities as well, so it was a massive part of my life. During the lockdown we were doing online classes to try and keep up our fitness. We also did some online quizzes, which really helped to keep up the team spirit and keep everyone feeling like they had something to do and they were a part of something.
So Mayway is an arts management and event company. We generally work in communities to programme cultural events and programming for good relations or to enhance community. So we set up in March 2019. We celebrated our first anniversary, and about 48 hours later went into lockdown and lost 90% of our business for the next 3 months. After the first lockdown, we kind of wanted to do something big and a bit showcasey and really celebrate the fact that we had seen through this lockdown and give the community something to rally around again. So we decided to run Drive-In Cinema Belfast with a company called Redbox Media over in Ormer Road. We ran 2 days in the Titanic Quarter of a drive-in cinema, 8 showings, and it had 8,000 people across the weekend. It was the biggest event in Ireland to date since the start of the lockdown, and still one of the biggest in the UK. We raised £10,000 for Queen's COVID Research Fund, which was amazing and a real kind of morale boost, I think, for us and for a lot of people in the events industry. Then when the second lockdown came, we had received some Arts Council funding to try and give a platform to established and emerging artists in Northern Ireland who'd had that taken away from them because of the lockdown. So we ran Lockdown Festival in Titanic Quarter again, which was a 2-day drive-in festival featuring some of the best and brightest artists from across Northern Ireland. We had And So I Watched From Afar headline, we had Kieran Lavery and Joshua Burnside, Ronnie Greer, we had family theatre mornings, and although we have worked together in the past on large events, this was the first for Mayway doing something this big. And to do it through a pandemic, to do it against this uphill battle of organising events, made it even more special for us. I mean, I remember on the last day of some of the drive-ins, us just kind of standing in awe of what we'd managed to do, despite all the restrictions and all the difficulties that we had. And it was something really overwhelming, actually, particularly Lockdown Festival, knowing that we'd pulled all that together and made it happen, and with the support of all the businesses and the Arts Council and everyone who helped us. It was just amazing.
Well, in such unprecedented times, it's been inspiring to watch how people and businesses have pivoted to survive and to thrive. Again, it comes back to the good old East Belfast spirit. We were never beaten, we just got on with it. Quickly changing businesses to selling online, Zoom discos, online football classes, drive-through cinemas and music festivals right here in the heart of East Belfast. This is only a snippet of how our community, people and businesses innovated to survive and make East Belfast a better place during 2020 and beyond. Now to invite another very special guest to the stage. George Best Belfast City Airport have been principal sponsor of the Eastside Awards since its inaugural year, and this year was no different. I'm delighted to welcome Stephen Patton from the airport to join me now to say a few words and to introduce the final chapter of the film, Hope.
Thanks, Tara, and good evening everyone at home. 2020 will forever be remembered as the year the world fell silent. Empty chairs and empty tables were all that filled our restaurants, padlock gates separated us from our beloved sports grounds. Meeting and event cancellation emails filled our inboxes, and our roads were all but deserted. But despite this global silence, the beating heart of East Belfast has never been louder. The East Belfast Our Story 2020 project perfectly encapsulates how the small actions of many within a local community can make such a significant, lasting impact. Belfast City Airport is once again extremely proud to partner with the Eastside Awards team, and we are honoured to support East Belfast Our Story 2020, which will no doubt inspire future generations when they reflect upon the COVID-19 pandemic and how their ancestors coped with their new normal. With many employees on site, the airport itself is like a micro-community, and we are tremendously proud of how our team and our partners have continued to give back and support those in need of a helping hand over the last 12 extremely challenging months.
To announce 8 new sun destinations for Belfast City Airport.
We're delighted to be announcing 6 new routes from Belfast City Airport.
And it's real testimony to the entrepreneurial spirit down here at the airport.
Today is the first of our Aer Lingus services to Edinburgh.
Belfast City Airport have done an extraordinary job, and this new normal in the airport is an incredibly comfortable, safe and easy travel experience.
Now is the time to look to the future. As the sun sets on another day, we find ourselves one day closer to cheering on our teams from the stands of the Oval and the Keenspan Stadium, to reserving a table at one of our favourite restaurants in Ballyhackamore to catch up with friends, and to boarding that first flight to reunite with loved ones or soak up some warm sunshine. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. And let me tell you, thanks to you, there is light ahead. Even in the dark shadow of 2020, the people of East Belfast united to make the hardest of times some of the most special times. And of that we should be eternally proud. Ladies and gentlemen, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce the final chapter of East Belfast Our Story 2020, Hope.
We didn't lose hope, we made it. We've grown new businesses, climbed mountains together, because we never stopped believing in each other. We joined the feast in our streets, that familiar fighting spirit that lights up my eyes, lights your eyes. Young or old, we marvelled at activities. Hope wrapped up in a friendly food parcel. If you are vulnerable, we are available. We know we can get through anything. Cast our eye on these old city streets and make them new, undefeated, working day and night to get the people vaccinated, consolidated. When we face the latest challenge, we rise in spirit through innovation, creating hope.
Naturally, everyone was a bit frightened, we were a bit apprehensive. We were concerned about protecting our families, our community, our patients, the most vulnerable people in our society. As a person, nurses are always very adaptable, so we were always ready for a challenge. So the response was very measured, it was completely appropriate, and it was proportionate for the resources available in the timescales that were set out. We are doing really good, and I think we'll continue to do good, and I'm really proud of what we've achieved and also very enthusiastic about what we'll continue to achieve.
It started off with me getting up the mornings by myself, so there's a couple of times, and decided, right, I get company to come up here, let's get in the car, just put a post on Facebook, a few friends joined me as well, so we started up the WhatsApp group, 40 plus men on it, and every week, at least once a week, maybe twice a week, we try and get up to build our stamina up coming up to May. The 6 weeks before Christmas, we decided what else can we do, so we decided the toy drive to help kids at Christmas, to help families at Christmas, make the burden a bit easier. People's going through a lot of hard times this year, especially 2020. It was a bit of a disaster year for everyone, but getting up there, it helped everyone. So did anybody come up, they were coming over and thanking me and stuff for bringing them up, and it was a simple, let's get in the car, drive up, and that was it. Didn't have to tell me anything, just go up there, but they were coming over and thanking me. It was emotional too, hearing things like that back, but say it was good, so it was.
We're a care home that specialises in people who live with dementia and people that have advanced dementia. So there was all the speculation, all the information in the media, and we had made a collective decision to lock down prior to the government stating that care homes had to. And that was very much looking at the risk, looking what was in the community and looking what was best for the residents. And that was very much a decision from our end, but also families were very understanding at that time. We were really fortunate in December, the very start of December, to get a phone call from the Belfast Trust to ask would we be interested in having the vaccine, and it was a straightforward yes, of course we would. It was a good day and a good process, organised within I think about 22 hours in total. A lot of consent as we provide care to people with dementia. It was going through GPs, social workers, families, and collectively everybody made the right decisions.
We're an organisation that's here to help set up businesses, to help those people that are on their journey to start their business and grow their business. And that's what we're all about, and that's what Expedite's all about. It was a programme which I felt really passionate about because we wanted to really try to provide a focus to a small number of entrepreneurs and give them really valuable support and help them to start their journey into hopefully what's going to be successful businesses. It's their dreams that we, in a very small way, are trying to help make a reality. And when you see even the smallest of interventions having some type of impact and seeing how that impacts in somebody's life, I mean, it's fantastic, and it's what keeps us going.
The whole appeal of the program was the funding that was in place, and then we had 10 weeks of space at the Foundry, which is fantastic, and then there was 10 weeks of accounting software provided by Expedite. So that package itself, along with mentoring and the workshops and the speakers coming, those were just highs. We had Madluck come over and talk about his vision and how he started up.
We had a clear idea where we want to go, but it was an idea and a hope.
Yeah.
So we really needed a hand, someone to hold our hands and say, go this way.
Yeah, we had the zeal, we had the passion, and we knew the process, but it would have taken us a lot longer, and Expedite it just expedited us, basically.
I think the best part of the programme was probably the final night where we had local business leaders and influencers come along, and all the businesses presented, and they did a fantastic job, and the business leaders gave them fantastic feedback, but we were able to critique the ideas and give them some great advice for the future. So it was really enjoyable to see local, East Belfast business leaders with the up and coming East Belfast business leaders.
I'm an airline pilot. I work in the aviation industry for 9 years. I was working in Belfast for 5 years for different airlines, and finally I worked in the Middle East. And fortunately last year I was made redundant because of the pandemic, and I decided to open my own cafe in Belfast called Flight 7. People are surprised. People always say, why did you leave French Riviera for East Belfast? And I just say, well, you have no idea. I find East Belfast, and I find Northern in general, extremely enjoyable to live. I'm really pleased of the support I receive from everybody, and I'd like to thank everybody. And I'm looking forward to receiving them here and have them sitting in and enjoy their time.
You have to have hope, because I think if you took away people's hope, or people stopped believing that we can get back to where we were, or even remotely, even slightly near to where we were, I think we would be in a far worse situation than what we're in now.
And I think whenever we're alone and we're not together, that's when it's easy to not have hope,
particularly when all of the TV reports on the news and the reports on the radio and in the newspapers can be so negative, but there is always hope. You just sometimes need to speak to the right person who passes it on to you.
As an events organiser particularly, I mean, we need hope. We need to know that there is an end to this and that we are going to get back to doing what we love.
The people have proved to be resilient. They've lived through the troubles, they've survived, they've kept going. There's almost like a built-in resilience that they will find a way of making it work.
What's the future? Well, nobody knows what the new normal will be, but we believe we're prepared for that. So we are ready for the future. We hope we're able to hold that line again, whatever the future holds, and give the people of East Belfast confidence that their community has come together to help everyone.
I think we're extremely adaptable. I think we're extremely proud. I think there's going to be so much fun in the future, and we know that East Belfast has so much talent. We know that people love to go out, have fun. We know they've got so much music. We know that there's so much creativity, within our arts sector. So there is a huge amount of promise. There is a huge amount of hope. People connecting and celebrating what is special about life and what equally is special about East Belfast.
I believe we can look ahead to times when this place will be filled with noise and the sound of laughter. All of this community spirit and innovation gives me great hope for the future and great hope for East Belfast. If the past year has taught us nothing else, it has taught us that as a community, we need and rely on each other. Our community is as strong as ever, and that above all else gives me hope for the future. This film is simply a snapshot of all that's been achieved in East Belfast over the past year. And to those who have told their story, and to the many others who were part of this journey, I simply want to say thank you.
We built the world's best chips.
Led the world
in rope making.
We invented air conditioning.
And when the pandemic hit,
our collective spirit made sure
that East Belfast wasn't found wanting.
This is East Belfast, our story.
2020.
Well, I can't think of a more poignant way to end this evening. We never stop believing in each other, and we know we can get through anything. There's always hope, and if the last year has taught us anything at all, it is that we're a stronger community as a result of the challenges we faced. And as Stephen mentioned earlier, the people of East Belfast united this year to make the hardest of times some of the most special times. From the dedication and resilience of our key workers to individuals who offered a helping hand to those in need, to those that took a leap and started new businesses in the toughest of times, we're emerging a better people and a better community. Before we go, I would like to mention the very sad passing of Colm Davis, the winner of last year's Lifetime Achievement Award. He was a shining example to us all of what is great about East Belfast, and we offer our deepest sympathies to his wife Vic and their family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to host the premiere of East Belfast, Our Story 2020. I very much hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. For anyone who's missed out on tonight's premiere, don't worry. We'll be making the film available to watch on demand, so keep an eye on the Eastside Awards website and socials for the replay link. All that remains is for me to thank you, the people of East Belfast, for everything you've done this year. The film was simply a snapshot of some of the activity over the past year. We simply couldn't showcase everyone as we wouldn't have been able to. So a special thank you to all those who were part of the journey. On behalf of the Eastside Awards Committee and on behalf of myself, thank you. And again, thank you to this year's East Belfast Our Story 2020 champions, without whom this event, or indeed the film, would not have been possible. So to end on a fitting quote from the collected letters of C.S. Lewis, there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. Many thanks, and we're looking forward to seeing you all at next year's Eastside Awards. From myself, Jonathan and Stephen, thanks for joining us, and have a good night.